On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the New Orleans Pelicans. Kyrie Irving leads the way, but what did PJ Washington do in his return that gives me some hope about this Dallas Mavericks team on today's Locked On Mavs?
I'm here because I have to be here.
Explain yourself. Sorry.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table.
And let it ride. And welcome to your Locked On to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Joining me, as always, the post-game prodigy from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Another really impressive win by this team. And you know what? Through all of the crazy stuff going on, they continue to put a good product out on the basketball court, which is all you really ask for. So
They're absolutely doing that. And you know what? They're doing it even though sometimes you just don't know who's out there on the court sometimes. You know, they just get covered up by other people's accomplishments.
we've been censored. No.
If you're listening on the podcast, we're blacked out and greened out, covered by Mavs logos because
This is one of the dumber side plots we've had.
the Mavs social team reposted a video of a Duro music video. It was supposed to be like this hype video to hype the fans up. It's this song that is played in the arena for like a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's a couple years old.
They played it tonight. They played it after the Mavs. They always play it after the Mavs win. And instead of removing the clips with like Maxi or some other players, they just put black completely over the player or green completely over the player and a Mavericks logo over their head and played it. And a lot of people thought it was Luka. It was the number one post on NBA Reddit today. It was a big subplot that was really tough. But we're having some fun with that because I thought that was really funny. I don't think that it was malicious or anything like that. No. It was just very unfortunate and a terrible decision by the Mavericks social team and all that. But Duro himself put out a statement slightly.
Yeah. Well, because it's important to note that it was Duro's and his team. His team made it. It was not the Mavericks themselves. Their social team did not make the video. They just shared it basically,
which they still hit post. It was still a mistake. It's still a mistake on their part. Like just remove the clips with those players in it. But yeah, Duro even put out like a real statement with his signature on it. Said, as a lifelong Mavericks fan, this video is produced by my team with the intention of energizing and uniting the Mavericks fans. I don't think that happened today.
No, he energized them for sure. But
yeah,
maybe not.
That's true.
Maybe not the way.
Galvanized them, I guess is a word I would use.
I mean, it's really bad optics. That's the main problem. The idea of a hype video where you black out the players that you traded is hilarious. Like that is so funny of a concept to me, where if they came out and they're like, hey, like we're friends with Maxi, we thought it was kind of a funny joke, I would respect them and I'd be like, okay, that was actually hilarious and probably one of the best posts I've seen this year.
They would have gotten away with it if it was a stylistic choice and randomly players were blacked out with the Mavs logo. It was just a style thing. You would have not known that was not a player on the Mavericks anymore. And the fact that it was Maxi that was actually blacked out and not Luka makes it even funnier because you have the subplot of Maxi wearing the I'm not Luka shirt because he got recognized as Luka a whole bunch in the first couple years of Luka with the Mavericks.
Yeah.
That was like the cherry on top for me. That was hilarious because it was just one more time Mavericks fans mistook Maxi for Luka. One more time.
Like you said earlier, I don't think there was anything nefarious behind it. It was just a funny edit, and it just the optics look really, really poor in a moment where it's everything that you do is just, since there's such a PR,
it's put to 11
nightmare. Yeah, everything is under a microscope, and so not good optics to post it. But really, when you sit down and really think about it, hilarious, like a hilarious decision.
Very funny to just be hanging out like. Oh man, what else is going to go under a microscope is the Mavs win tonight. The Mavs get a win against New Orleans Pelicans. Kyrie Irving leads the way. Let's start with PJ Washington though. 24 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, had 20 points in the first half. Hit a couple of threes, 5 free throws as well. His return it gives me hope, and maybe it's just because he's a hype man. He actually does energize and unite a fan base, unlike that music video today. But PJ Washington coming back, I thought gave the Mavericks so much life.
Yeah, and this is one of the things about PJ that, has become a staple in his game. I don't know if I'd say staple, but it's something that I feel like he's developed is just these scoring bursts that he can go on from time to time, which really help out this team. He had 4 points in the second half of this game, but he had 20 in the first half. So he finishes with 24 points. And just that scoring flurry that he went on earlier in the game, it just kind of changes the dynamic of the game. The defense has to approach you differently, right? They can't let you get to your post-ups the way that you want to. They got to close out harder on three-point shots. I mean, we saw a couple of wild closeouts. Zion had a couple of wild closeouts on PJ Washington pump fakes that led to good things for the Mavs offensively. So, yeah, having PJ back is just huge. He's become such a good role player. Just a very versatile guy, and with the Mavs as injured as they are in the front court, like he's very important for this team.
The offense tonight was not good. Like it was just not a great offensive night. The Mavs went multiple stretches of minutes at a time, 4-minute stretches, at least 2 that I counted, of 4 or more minutes at a time. They didn't score a field goal in there. And having PJ Washington back, it reminded me that you get another guy that can score 20 in any given night, right? Like that he can go out there and do what he just did, especially against teams that aren't expecting it, don't have great defenders at the 4 and 5 position, that he can go out and he's built up this bag basically this whole season. They've been trying to make him do extra things, post-ups, attack off the dribble, run, pick and roll, things like that, be confident in his three-point shot. The Mavs have built up his confidence to do those things this year, and now you get a guy like that back. They're going to need that really badly, especially with AD out, but even with AD back, whenever he comes back, you just need one more guy that can get you 20 because they were really searching set points tonight, and they just could not get any buckets.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about him with AD, we only saw it. I mean, it's crazy that he also got hurt in that game, the same game that AD did. This was the first time we've seen him since then.
Have we been happy since then? I guess they've won games since then. But.
They've won games, which is weird because earlier in the season, that was like not a thing that the Mavs did. If PJ was out, they were cooked.
Yeah.
Like they weren't going to win. We that was well documented. And I think that kind of speaks to just the resiliency of this roster and how, I mean, I really don't know. Like they're winning games lately. It's just they're going for. I mean, they're just playing hard, and you got to respect them because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like being this small, and the Pelicans went huge tonight.
The Pelicans starting lineup was insane. It's the first game with Kelly Olynyk. He came back in the Brandon Ingram trade. So they started Yves Missi, who is listed at 6'11", and I will never believe that he is 6'11", ever, just watching him play.
You think he's smaller?
I do. Just maybe like a couple inches. But Kelly Olynyk is listed at 6'11", 6'10". Zion is 6'6", but he plays much bigger than that. Then Trey Murphy is 6'8". I think he plays a little bit bigger than that, too. Yeah. So you have like this massive lineup. And so instead of Max Christie getting the start, Kid starts PJ Washington and Kessler Edwards. And I don't know, it was fine. I think the Mavericks benefited from one thing a lot, though.
What's that?
Zion Williamson having a 28-minute restriction.
Yeah, they did. They got a little bit lucky there. But although I will say they did a great job in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. How many did he get in the fourth quarter? He finished
4 points, 2 of 3, but 2 turnovers, was a -7.
Yeah, he played 9 minutes, got 4 points, and I think his only points were late in the fourth, where they were just kind of like, go ahead, like go to the rim. We're up by 10 at this point.
Yeah. There's at least one layup late in the game like that. But yeah, I mean, Zion was unstoppable tonight, and Zion is, when he's on, he's one of those covers where he's gonna get to a spot, finish, get to the free throw line, and especially whenever you don't have the size to really wall that off, it becomes really difficult. But I got to give some props. I feel like some of those fourth quarter struggles were, believe it or not,
I know what you're gonna say.
Moses Brown's minutes. Like I actually thought you got some pretty good Moses Brown minutes tonight.
They needed him so badly in this game because they just needed anybody to deter Zion at the center, or even just someone to come over and help. Coming up, let's talk about Moses Brown, what he meant to the Mavericks in that fourth quarter stretch, because I agree with you. He was a key part to this Mavericks team, and I think I may have to apologize to him. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. If a player in the NBA scores 50 points in a game, during the 2024-2025 season, this season right now, Dash Pass members get 50% off in order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So they score and you get to score just like that. There are a bunch of ways you can do it. A game day feast after an epic 50-point performance. Celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door for yourself or a bunch of other people or whatever you want to do. Check it out with DoorDash. You have to be signed up for the DoorDash Pass and be ready to save. When a player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50. NBA, then the number 5, the number 0, from noon to midnight after a 51 game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. DoorDash.com. Get a Dash Pass. Score when they score.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Slightly, there's a line of people that usually line up right after a game. They go down and they get to shoot a free throw. And I think 10 people in that line yelled Raccoon Squad at me. And it just warmed my heart a lot.
We're famous.
The squad.
It always makes me laugh whenever like a friend or someone sends me a text and it's like us on the TV. I'm like, that's just weird. That's part of my life now.
Shout out if you're watching us on KFAA.
Shout out to you.
Appreciate you. Especially like, I guess it would be on a Saturday today. Shout out to you for sure.
Yeah.
Check the QR code, links in the description for different ways to follow the show to continue to be a bigger part of the Raccoon Squad. All right, Slightly. Moses Brown, you mentioned it. We did a 3-man weave with you, me, and Isaac. We went for, an hour and a half the other day in a couple episodes. And we just downplayed the Moses Brown edition so many times in that and made jokes because he has not necessarily been a good NBA player. He has bounced around. He has not found a spot. But he produced in this game tonight. There were some mistakes, but they needed him, and they needed just his rim deterrence at the rim in that fourth quarter. He finished the fourth quarter with, 5 minutes, and they're a +1 in those minutes. And he got 3 rebounds, scored on that crazy Klay Thompson pass, like the over-the-head one to him in transition. He impacted the game in this one, and I think that they might not win without him.
Yeah, no, I mean, Zion was legitimately unstoppable for the first 3 quarters of this game, and you just kind of felt it. All right, we know he's on a minute restriction, but he's set for most of the third quarter. We know we're going to get 9-10 minutes of Zion here in the fourth, and can the Mavericks win those minutes or at least stay afloat during those minutes? And just having his size as deterrence, I thought he did a great job helping defensively. He even got 3 seconds in the fourth quarter, which I was 100% cool with. Like, I'm 100% okay with a big like Moses Brown who's on the court to be a deterrence at the rim, pretty much use that size. I'm cool with him getting in 3 seconds. If it means I'm standing under the basket, Zion Williamson, we're taking away the middle of the floor for you.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything easy here. So I got to give props to him. I really did. I think part of it is Yves Missy's a young guy who's kind of growing into his role and still looks a little bit rough offensively at times. So you feel a little bit confident helping off him, and you feel like you can recover and just force, a contested shot on Yves Missy. He's probably not making it at this juncture in his career. And I thought he did a really good job. Like, I really do think he deserves a lot of props for how he played, especially in the fourth quarter defensively.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that stretch. Zion only scored 4 points in the 9 minutes in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, he played just like 344 and scored 10 points. It was just bucket after bucket. It was just too easy for him over and over again. And to have that deterrence in the paint was huge for him. And like, you got to give Moses Brown credit. We also have to give credit to Kyrie Irving. He led the way. He has stepped into that number 1 player on the team role, 35 points in this one, and just at times just looked so smooth with everything he did. There was a moment in this game. We mentioned the stretches where they didn't get buckets. There was one in the fourth quarter where from like the 10-minute mark to the 5-minute mark, they didn't have a single field goal made, and Kyrie just stepped in, took a pull-up 3, and put the lead back up to 6. And it just felt like a big moment where we need to get a bucket some way. We need to just create offense in some way. Somebody's just going to have to do that. And Kyrie said, I'll do it right here. Stand up, left wing, pull up 3. He gave them exactly what they needed. Again, I feel like we say that every game, but he did.
Yeah, I mean, he's been incredible really all season long. I'm so happy he got named an all-star because he 100% deserved it. And this stretch since the Luka trade, 28, nearly 29 points per game if you round up, 40% from 3. He's had 3 30-point games. He's had a 40-point game. I mean, he's just been so big. And we're getting to a point in the season where you look at his season, the resume that he's had, and definitely this stretch, and assuming the Mavericks continue to play winning basketball between now and the end of the season, I mean, he's making a real solid All-NBA case. Like I think he's been, especially when you consider who's going to be eligible and not eligible, I think he's been a top 15 player in the league this season. And I mean, just stepping up in this way, like we saw him catch a lob from Spencer Dinwiddie. And he almost got another one from Kessler Edwards, and then he had a crazy block. I mean, he was just doing everything, and that's sort of what we've seen from Kyrie, where he just steps up. I think his assist numbers, because people always bring that up, his assist numbers I don't think are fully accurate, because you watch the game and he makes things happen. He's not like the Luka Doncic where it's like, I'm bidding the defense, I'm throwing a skip pass to the corner. Kyrie's more of, I'm drawing attention and I'm going to move the ball, and the ball is going to swing in rotation. And so I think he gets a lot of hockey assists, and the ball moves. He creates for others off of that. But again, it's like a different type of playmaking.
Well, and this team is just different now, right? I had a couple people after the game come up to me and just say, "This is a different looking team. They flows a little bit. It flows a little bit more. It's faster. It's Kyrie ball. It's the Kyrie ball. Remember when they first added Kyrie, we were talking about the Luka ball versus the Kyrie ball, and right now it's all Kyrie ball because you can't play Luka ball anymore. You just can't. Like there's nobody on the team that can play that type of basketball. So you don't want to do that anymore. Kyrie had the pull-up three with 5:31 left in the game to make it a 6-point game. Then he had a post-up on Alvarado that was just hilarious. See Kyrie, who was maybe like 2 inches taller than him, if that, post up and just begging for the ball, but sealed, got position. And it's funny to see 2 6-foot guys like go at it in the post. But he scored that one was massive. And then he had he kicked it to Naji for the corner three with 2:28 left. And then he also got the three at the end with like a minute left from the Naji drive-in kick. So he was part of all 3 of the Mavericks' final field goals that actually mattered.
Yeah. I mean, that's just speaks to like sealing off a Jose Alvarado and getting an entry pass and finishing. It's just he can beat you in so many different ways. We know he can hit tough shots. He stepped up to the call of duty. And, obviously this team's going to look much different without an offensive engine like Luka Doncic. That's not to say that the offense is better. That's not saying the offense is going to be better. Obviously, we know that that's not the case. But Kyrie Irving has stepped up in a major way. And, again, I think he's made a real legitimate All-NBA case this season. And if he continues up this level of play, it would be hard to argue against him.
Well, you start taking names off the board. I mean, Luka's already out of that. Wemby is now out of it. I mean, Joel Embiid was never going to be on it. But, like, you just start crossing off names, and you're like, oh, man, maybe he is going to get something like that. I don't think that's ridiculous to think that. We'll have to do an episode for sure where we go through all NBA and figure out. But we got 25 games left.
You want to get to another spicy award take?
I'm ready.
Our guy Ben Rogers tweeted this out.
Oh, I think you're gonna say Ben Rogers. Is he getting a Marconi? Like what?
No. Do we need to start hearing some Coach of the Year buzz?
Oh my God! Wow.
I mean, obviously he's not going to win the award, but
no.
At a certain point, and we've poo-pooed his name on here quite a bit, Jason Kidd. You got to give props when props are due.
Have we?
We have. Not to
last
other people.
Last year we did a lot more.
Right. I mean, I feel like we've been tame, all things considered, from what you hear elsewhere. But they're 31-26. Beyond just the trade, they've been so injured. They've had guys in and out the lineup. They're missing an entire front court during this 5-1 in the last 6 stretch that they're on. And I just remember earlier in the year going to war with people who were like, look at Jamal Mosley on the Magic and look at what they're doing. Look at what he gets out of his team. They're 28-30 right now.
Yeah, and they have their 2 stars back now.
Yeah, so
they played worse with them.
If we're just going off of the standards that people set earlier in the year for Kidd, then he's doing a hell of a job.
The Kenny Atkinson of the Cavs is gonna get it. He's -600 on FanDuel. That's like a big favorite. JB Bickerstaff of the Pistons obviously should be up there too. He's +900. Then Ime Udoka of the Rockets +2,000. Dagnall of the Thunder +2,500. Taylor Jenkins of the Grizzlies +3,000. And then JJ Redick +15,000. Kidd does not have odds on FanDuel right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe he should get a little bit more. Hey guys, Kidd's actually doing a really good job with this team. All
right, well then we'll say it. I think Kidd's doing a really good job with this team right now, right? Like if he's not going to get award buzz, then I'll say it because this team has fought. Yeah. And this team has adapted, and this team he tried stuff. He went with Moses Brown. He wasn't going to go with Kyler or Kelly. Like, we know that. Like, he wasn't going to do that. But when he was given an option, he tried it, went for it, and then went for it in the fourth quarter. Like, that takes some guts to go with him instead of, PJ again or a Kessler who had been doing well for you or something else.
Yeah, and I mean, this is when I would come to Kid's defense a little bit, where it was like, you don't make the conference finals or the finals two of 3 seasons if you're like a really poorly coached team. Like you have to be a pretty well coached team to achieve that. And yeah, of course they had Luka, they had Kyrie, they had all these guys, but you still have to be coached well. And you really don't have the stretch you're on recently. The buy-in level from all of these guys, like that doesn't happen on a poorly coached team. It just doesn't. Like look around the league.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you say that, and then I think back to like David Blatt making the the NBA Finals with LeBron's team. It's like sometimes.
Yeah, but that was LeBron.
Oh well, it was Luka. I mean,
true, but I mean that was like LeBron, potentially the greatest player of all time at the absolute peak of his powers.
He absolutely was in an era that was huge for him. Yeah, the way that this team has played, the way that this team has fought, the way that this team continues to keep fighting is admirable. There's people came up to me afterwards and said, "Man, I just love the way that this team fought. I'm still having a hard time moving on, but watching this team makes it easier for sure."
Yeah,
and
for sure.
You got to love that. Coming up, let's get into Max Christie, Naji Marshall. Both made huge contributions. What did their game mean for this Mavericks team, and what does it mean going forward? Coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. We just talked about Coach of the Year odds for FanDuel. You can go and put some money down. You can't put money down on Jason Kidd. You can put money down on some of the other ones. Kenny Atkinson seems like it's an easy one. I did see somebody that put down like $10,000 on Wembanyama Defensive Player of the Year odds the day he got his diagnosis that he was going to get that he was going to be out for the rest of the season. That's tough. So maybe think through some of the things that you're going to do. Wait a minute. But you can do that. You can do all kinds of other stuff. There's odds for Cooper Flag right now. The team that will get Cooper Flag: Wizards plus 500, Pelicans plus 500, Jazz plus 550, Hornets plus 550, Bulls plus 600. So you can go put down money on that. If you put down $5 and you win, and it's your first $5, you can get $150 in bonus bets with FanDuel right now. Again, go check out FanDuel. See what's available wherever you are. FanDuel, official betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. Let's talk about Naji Marshall against his former team. 15 points, 10 boards off the bench. Just had a big contribution, I thought, in this one. Hit that three we mentioned earlier. That was a really, really big three with 2:28 left and made it. It was a 4-point game, and then it was a 7-point game. That felt like a really big swing at that moment. And I thought Naji made huge contributions.
Yeah, the corner three, that's just such a big shot for him. We'll continue to say that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this is why I love Naji Marshall. This is why I love having guys like Naji Marshall on the team. Obviously, this is his former team. He's close with all these guys. Him and Trey Murphy are good friends. Him and Jose Alvarado are good friends. And they're friendly little back and forth. Trey Murphy hits a three. He's immediately getting in Naji Marshall's face. And this was late in the game. I mean, the game was close. Naji Marshall immediately responds by attacking the basket, getting an and one, little lefty scoop layup. And, he's talking at the free throw line. I mean, that's why you go out and get guys like this that are dogs. And we know Naji Marshall fits that to a T. And, of course, he had some of those patented floaters where it's just like, how on earth is he even getting those off? I don't understand it at all.
It doesn't make any sense. It's like an offbeat. It's like clapping on the offbeat. It feels like when he hits those. He had one in the third quarter with like 4 minutes left. He spun into a floater over Alvarado and then hit him with the too small. All the way down the court. Yeah. Are you allowed to do the too small against a guy that's like under 6 foot, basically?
He's not lying.
He is. I guess it's true. He is too small.
It is. It does feel like a little bit like when you too small a taller player, that's like, I got you. You're too small to guard. When you too small someone who's like 6 to 7 inches small, it feels like mean spirited almost.
It's like, yeah, get that short guy.
Shorty, short stuff. No, but they're obviously friends, so it was fun. But yeah,
right.
I get what you're saying, though.
But that part I thought was just, he gives you that edge, that attitude that PJ brought back and gave you, that Naji has. And it feels like when you get all those guys together, it gives you even more of that. And I feel like Anthony Davis is going to really feed off of that from this team. You even saw it in that first game against the Rockets that he's going to feed off of that extra type of energy there.
Yeah, sorry. I just saw a clip of the video. The end of the video. It just makes me laugh. Sorry, but no. Yeah, you talk.
Which
about
one? This one?
Yeah, it is so funny. When you talk about AD, I mean, think about. We say this if all of this stuff is hypothetical at this point, but you're talking about adding the best front court in the NBA to what you've seen over the last couple of weeks. That's what's going to happen. Hopefully, at some point, it's the best front court in the league is going to be added to this mix. And you're without it entirely. You're
about to add the best front court in the league, or about to. You're eventually going to add the best front court in the league to this. You're also going to add the strength of your team to this. Your team is supposed to be built around these bigs they're supposed to give you this a massive advantage. You're playing right now without your advantages, which I think.
I mean, to the credit again, to kids' credit, is they've made it work, and it's like turned into this weird advantage for you in a way where you just throw out 5 switchable defenders and you switch everything and you fly around the court, and it gives teams problems. And this was an interesting test because Zion tested that. And Zion said, everyone on the court's too small and you had problems. But then you put out a Moses Brown. It's just like when AD or Lively's back, we saw it with Moses Brown stopping that. Like it's going to put a stop to it and into that. So that's what's exciting about all of this.
The Locked On Mavs lie detector test is on. If Zion's allowed to play like 35 minutes, do the Mavs win this game?
Well, the reason why I say yes is because he played 10 minutes in the fourth and didn't do anything.
Fair.
And they lost those minutes.
Fair.
So I did think in the third quarter, I was like, man, you're going to have to dominate these non-Zion minutes.
Well, he only played like under 4 minutes in that third quarter, so maybe he plays more. But then maybe Kid makes the adjustment in the third quarter instead of the fourth quarter, and it's a different game at that point.
But also, he had to get subbed out halfway through the fourth quarter for a quick little rest. I mean, he looked pretty gassed, so I don't know if you really could have gotten that many minutes out of Zion.
Does he have a conditioning problem?
Yes. I mean, that's not I heard some funny jokes.
But he should look to trade
that. It was like, Zion, buddy, let me tell you, we don't take kindly to fat people here in Dallas anymore. So he had to take an L.
I can't. There's too much barbecue here for that to be true.
True.
Too much great barbecue.
Basketball players.
Shout out to Hutchins Barbecue. Shout out to Hurtado. I had Hurtado the other day.
I still have not had Hurtado. By the way, that was what somebody said as a joke. I'm not saying that. Like, that's what Nico was thinking, not what people are saying. I feel like we have to preface all this stuff now.
I know. Speaking of Nico, what'd you eat today, Slightly?
Let's see. What did I eat today? I had some
Stop. We're not
fruit. I had ground beef patty selection and a salad for dinner. So Nico
wow.
with me.
Proud of you there. Max Christie was eating. Max Christie was eating well in this game at times. He had 16 points on 7 shots in this one. And, like, the thing that stood out to me about his scoring was how diverse it was and how he can get to a step back. He had a moment, I think it was it in the first quarter or the second quarter, where he had 2 plays in a row where they got Carlo, last name. How do you say this? Makovic. It has a silent T in it that throws me off every time I try to read it. He got ISO'd on him twice in a row and scored on him in different ways. Step back jumper and a floater. I don't know. The sky might be the limit for him. I mean, he may, if he continues to add and the Mavs continue to lean on him, and they didn't look to him at all in the fourth quarter to score at all, but I think they could have. He played 32 minutes and they were plus 24 in his minutes. They just dominated when he played in there.
Yeah, and I mean, that bucket you're talking about, a little step back mid-range jumper, some on-ball reps. Moses Brown comes and sets a screen for him. He gets the switch and immediately goes to work. Just 3 dribbles, gets to that step back, beautiful mid-range jumper. I mean, those are the shots right there where it's like, okay, that's something that you can replicate. And he had a tough turnaround jumper over Jordan Hawkins in the first quarter as well. Like, those are the shots right there. We know he's going to be a good three-point shooter. His mechanics are great. His release is great. He's got a quick shot. He looks comfortable like that. So we know the three-point shooting is going to be good for him. Like, I feel very confident in that. It's all of that self-creation stuff you see from time to time. It's the coming off of ball screens. Those are the ones that are really exciting for me, because then that's replicable over the course of a game, like several times, right?
Naji is retweeting tweets about him clamping Alvarado and Murphy.
That's how you got to love a guy like that. The Mavs really haven't had a super active Twitter guy in a long time.
In a while. It's funny. Yeah.
You gotta love him.
He just goes right back to the locker room and starts retweeting.
Love
him
it.
clamping his best friend, or clamping his friends. So
Yeah,
good.
that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what it's all about right there.
It is. These guys are too friendly. They need to be at each other's throats.
True. He should have punched someone.
No,
we need him. We need him. We can't afford.
Well, Trey Murphy said he did punch him at some points in practice. Remember that clip?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
it on Halliburton's podcast or something?
Yeah.
To your point about Max Christie, yeah, if it just depends on how much the Mavs can lean on him and continue to make him try new stuff and to try to score, and bringing PJ back like lessen that burden from him a little bit. And I think that's good. But now you have multiple scorers that can. You have Kyrie, you have Clay, you have PJ, you have Max Christie, you have Naji, Dinwiddie every fifth game. Exum sometimes. You've got guys. You know the rule about Dinwiddie, right?
Well, hey, I want to actually shout out Dinwiddie because he had 0 points in 0 of 7, and you might see them be like, oh, another horrible Dinwiddie game. I thought he was good. I really did think he was good tonight. I know he missed shots. Yeah, 7 assists. I thought he did a pretty good job captaining the offense. So I do want to give a shout out to him.
Yeah, and he didn't play in the fourth quarter, or he didn't play much. He started the fourth quarter, but didn't close the game. And Kidd made that choice, and I think that's another one where Kidd pulled the right lever.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, especially with I'm trying to remember who they closed with, but yeah,
Maxey
with
not Maxey, Max Christie.
Yeah, I mean, Christie's a dog. I recommend that people go and look at Kyrie's quotes he had just a little bit ago about Max Christie because I think it says a lot.
He listed him.
Yeah, it's not just it's not the teammates being like, oh, this guy is really good. I mean, Kyrie's really going out of his way to make a point to emphasize how locked in Max Christie is, not just work like training and showing up to the locker. He said he was the first he beat Kyrie Irving's the first person there. Max Christie was the first one there today, and how Max Christie's just wanting to learn like constantly. He wants to be a sponge.
Do we think that's because Max Christie doesn't have a home yet here?
Maybe he just lives in the stadium.
He's living at the practice facility. They do have beds there. You know that they have like those pods where players can go like take naps.
When I was younger, I remember I thought, because I used to want to be an MLB player, and I used to think I would live in those stadium.
Didn't Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, literally lived at Paul Brown Stadium for a little while his first year so he could save money? There's a story about him talking about that.
I remember hearing a story of Mike Napoli was on the Rangers that he would sleep at the stadium before day games. And I was like, that's so sick.
That would be sick. Yeah, just being able to walk through an arena when nobody's there.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be so cool.
Would be super cool. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Check out Slightly Biased, great YouTube channel, great stuff all the time. Just had a video hit 100K, the best Luka video on the internet, including ours. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with a conversation with Christian Clark on Nico Harrison and why he made the trade. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Moses Brown. Who needs AD?